and thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Winston, and thank you very much for having me.
Great. Erastus, I'm concerned that there's, an illegal mining enclave in the Anwiaso East Forest, and you have national security, you have persons parading as national security operatives, protecting this illegality. Tell me more about these investigations by Love News.
Well, so we have been monitoring a number of invasions over time. These days, we have a number of God-fearing people who have joined our fight and our cause and are in the various communities also monitoring for us. And so we had the opportunity of getting such people who gave us this information. And, this site is just at the edge of the Anwiaso East Forest Reserve. So it is off reserve, but then it is just at the edge of the forest reserve.
Okay.
And on the outskirts of the Diaso township itself. So since we got that information, we were monitoring on the ground to see if we could pay a visit to the place. But with our experience of being assaulted before, when we flew the first drone, we found out that there are military men at the site. In fact, more than 7 of them protecting. They've created a barrier at the entrance of the mining site.
Okay.
There are quite a number of people who were parading as national security officials wielding guns also in the site. And we counted not less than 30 excavators working actively in that area. So we sought to we find out about whether they had a license. On the surface, when you are up there, you see quite an organized kind of mining, more than what we've been seeing. But we found out that there was an illegal mining site. They did not have any license whatsoever to mine in that particular area. And so I sent that notification and the drone footages to people that I thought will work on this. They also confirmed to me that indeed those people did not have any license and they were going to mount an operation. But I've been monitoring close to 2 weeks and nothing was happening. And that is why I put it out there.
Now, these persons who are in, you say you've seen military men. You've also seen persons parading as national security, wielding guns here and there. Now, you've also indicated that this is actually persons who don't have license. I'm just surprised. Maybe you found out. So if they don't have license, how come these military men and national security operatives are protecting their illegality?
If you remember, Winston, this happened before. You remember where we were detained in the forest for more than 5 hours in the Apamprama Forest Reserve.
Yeah.
At the time, we had over 35 fully armed military personnel protecting those miners. When we did the expose, until now, that report, when they said they are investigating, they send military intelligence people to come to my office to interview me and all that. Up to date, not a single report is out there as to who sent them there, how they managed to get there, who they were protecting, and all that. Now, this is also happening. I don't have a clue who owns that site and who was able, to get military officers to be protecting that particular mining site.
Now, you talk about 30 excavators. Let's look at the level of destruction. I mean, can you give us a picture of the kind of destruction going on in this forest?
So I would say that if I look at it with a layman's lens, I would say it's more than 15 football fields. And it's a deep pit they have dug. And that is why I'm saying that it looks, when you are up there and you are filming it, the drone footages will show quite an organized form of mining, more than what we've been witnessing, where they have dug a pit, moved in, mined down, and they are conducting quite an organized kind of mining. But what shocks me is that, you see, if you want to do mining, the law says, why don't you go for a license? Let the Minerals Commission and other agencies come in and regulate your activity, so that whilst you mine, once the Minerals Commission is aware and they have issued a license for you, then they will be able to monitor and then even set up reclamation prospects for the future, so that we do not have that huge pit being left there when you are done with your mining. And I think that is what is lacking, Winston. I'm seeing a number of party people, some of them who have been calling me on phone and telling me, why don't you leave us to do, we have also come, we need to mine, we need to do this, we need to that.
What?
And I tell them,
hold on. They've come, they need to mine how? Illegally?
Yes, everybody wants to mine illegally. And I don't know why the craze to mine illegally. And I think I have an inkling because, one, they will evade taxes. You know, mining is a very expensive business. In Ghana, if you want to follow the rules, it's expensive. Nobody wants to go through that. Nobody wants to pay the revenues you need to pay to get the license. And when you get the license, the revenue you need to pay to government, so that all of us can get a benefit from that. So everybody who is going into that field now wants to go and steal the gold and leave the pits behind for the taxpayer to reclaim. And I see it in so many areas. Now, let me tell you this before I forget.
Go ahead.
You remember we went to Draw River Forest Reserve?
Yes.
That was, I think, in 2023. And when we did our reports, the person who invaded withdrew. Now, new, fresh people have invaded that part of the forest. Adjura Banso. Yesterday, the community people went in there to film the devastation, and they brought the videos to me. I am learning, and there are accusations against the chief of the area that he is behind it. Those are his boys. I have gotten his contact. I'll be calling him to find out whether that is true. But this is not good for such a virgin forest that has not been invaded to now been invaded by small artisanal miners who are destroying the forest with impunity. And I think that whatever plans that the lands minister has, and I know he has a lot of plans up his sleeve. He has set up a whole new operation center, manned by a military man, a capable man, but it is yet to start work. Can we see it starting work immediately? Can we see the tracking department of the Minerals Commission that was set up way in the past administration, but has failed to be operationalized? I don't know why. Can we get that tracking department working? Can the government, if it's so minded and it is so serious about fighting illegal mining, can he set up a date, a deadline, that from this day to this day, if you do not bring your excavator for tracking and it is found on the field, it will be confiscated to the state, so that we can start tracking every excavator in the system. And then the new ones that are coming and are logged at the port, the thousands of them, can also be tracked before they move out into the system, so that we can network and get that facility linked to the Ghana Police Service, to the Navy, to the Ghana Armed Forces, so that you can monitor in real time where every excavator is moving to. It's a major thing that we can do so easily. And I don't know why we are still sitting down and not operationalizing that department.
You know, Erastus, talking about excavators, yesterday the CEO of the DVLA was in our studios. He talked about how, for instance, the about 5,000 excavators, okay? And the 5,000 excavators he talks about, I look at the fact that if you go to, say, areas like Takwa, Takrady, the numbers would shock you. Okay, so I go to an area. When you go to an area like Takrady, you're looking at I think what I've seen here. Let me just get you. But I look at a place like Takwa. Takwa is about 70. Takwa is about 13. So you ask the question, where are the excavators?
Listen, in the past administration, you remember some excavators went missing.
Yes.
Well, I tracked a few of them. In fact, I spoke with some of the low loaders who picked up these excavators from Accra, and in the company of somebody, they were supposed to give it to somebody around Bumfa Junction. Some of them were sold there for 35,000 cities. This low loader, and it's in my documentary, the Distraction for Gold, it's in there. You see, currently, we have excavators going almost everywhere. In some areas where you find these excavators, you are asking of where the excavators are. Sometimes you see low loaders in the middle of the night moving towards a certain forest area. And you ask yourself, well, is it going to repair roads? No, definitely not. It's going to an illegal mining site.
Yeah,
now,
because you see, Erastus,
many of them are working in the night. And then during the daytime, they park the excavators in their houses.
Okay.
And so when you come, you see the excavator parked at a garage or in their houses during daytime. So you might think that, it belongs to somebody. But in the night, it moves deep into the forest and start working.
Because I'm looking at this, and so far, 5,902. Accra 37 is 1,705. Kumasi 252. Tema 2,327. Wager 893. But if you go to, say, Takrady 70, that's in Takrady. If you go to, if you go to an area like Takwa 13, so, but these are areas that, a lot of illegality is going on. And in Seshiri also, it's actually one. That's the.
So, isn't it relevant then, what I keep saying, that why will any government spend so much money in building an ultra-modern tracking department, which can get all excavators on board and put trackers on them and be able to monitor them in real time? Why are we not operationalizing it?
Okay.
Because if we have, then all these excavators you are mentioning, because they have passed through the system, but now with the switch of a button, we'll be able to know where all these excavators are. And by geofencing, we can even stop them in their tracks if they are moving towards a certain area for illegality. I think if we are really serious about fighting this should be our top priority. Okay. And then the enforcement will also run alongside some of these things. And quickly, we'll be able to solve this problem.
Great. Let me just bring in Martin Kpebu. Before I bring in Martin Kpebu, let me just say that Joy News and Joy Prime are unstable. They are unstable on the T1 platform. And managers of the platform have assured us that work is underway to fix the problem. So we apologize for any inconvenience caused. Joy News and Joy Prime are unstable on the T1 platform. However, the managers of the platform have assured us that work is underway to fix the problem, and so we apologize for any inconvenience caused. Martin Kpebu, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. How about you say? Morning. Good.
But Martin, we're talking about illegal mining, and it's something that was a major campaign message, political message in election 2024. Erastus has just been telling us, I know you and others have, fought, you've made reports to the CID. Yesterday, the coalition against Galamsey was unhappy that the LI was not repealed in its totality, but amended. But Erastus is telling us also, at the Anwiaso East Forest, there's an illegal mining enclave there. Military personnel, persons believed to be national security, protecting these persons. Martin, what's happening?
Yeah, so what I would say is that, sad though it is, but it is a reflection of society that generally you won't find everybody conforming. No, you won't. You will find people who would always want to be deviant. It's in the nature of things. And so the right thing is what you're doing now. I mean, putting the attraction on it, okay? Sunshine on it. Erastus going under and uncovering them. So what we would be pushing for is further investigations and prosecution. I think that is what we have to do, because as for people doing what they are doing, it's to be expected that human nature, you will always find deviance. So let's put all the energies we can into advocating for further investigations and prosecutions. I'm happy to also reference the earlier one where the Apaprama Forest, the 35 soldiers, etc. We know the previous government, Ekufuado sanctioned Galamsey. That one he did. He was giving them sucker, right? You remember Akunta mining, where he went to Koforidua and said Akunta mining is not in the forest, etc. Sloganeering. He was sanctioning Galamsey, right? But JM, at least so far, we haven't seen him in his utterances giving sucker.
But Martin, speaking to Erastus just now, he tells all of us that he's had calls from people who are also saying that their party is coming to office, so he should he should stop shining the light on this. He should stop talking about it, so that they can also go ahead and mine illegally.
Yes, this is not the first time I've heard it. It's there. There were earlier reports. I think it must be the same Erastus. And then Joy FM, listen, you did a story. The one, a party executive said, if they were coming in there to check Galamsey, why didn't they call him ahead?
Yes.
And then you also remember the MP, the MP who is alleged to have been involved.
In
there are other stories.
The Arwin MP.
Arwin MP. So it's not surprising at all. That's why I said that deviance, we just have to accept that there will always be deviance. From the Garden of Eden, you remember Adam and Eve. So deviance is part of human nature. But we can't say because it's part of human nature, we'll throw up our arms in the air. What we are doing is what we have to continue doing and get more people on board. So maybe even with this, we also call IG Yonu and then the CID boss, Donkor, to find out this Akunta mining forest petition we presented. Chairman was invited to the CID. What's the latest? So maybe we should interview CID boss to find out, because people need to see that, look, something is being done. And that posturing and signaling will go a far way into stemming the tide, even before the case gets into court. Because we are not going to sit down and allow these people to continue to destroy our forests. That one, I think as a society, we are now very much resolved. So anybody who comes in our way will clear the person. That is to say, we will push for the person to be prosecuted according to law.
Let me bring in Erastus. And Erastus, you've still been going around. And so in all the rounds, what's the current situation? What's the improvement in the situation?
I think the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Yohunu, has done a fantastic job. I will always commend him. If we had gotten the police to do what they are doing now, we would have gotten somewhere. So one community at a time, he's been able to raid a number of the mining sites, especially on the Ankubra. Last week's arrest of 50 people, 17 of them Burkinabes, and their Ghanaian counterparts sitting on the Ankubra at Douale and Abelebo. They were arrested. I understand that they have been remanded into police custody pending further investigation. I think that these things should get support from government. I don't know whether he's receiving the support he needs from government, but resources and other things should be devoted to some of these things to keep them going. We should also have the complement of other factors. Currently, as we speak, mining in settlements is very rife. Very, very rife, especially in Ashanti region. Achumampunua, Manso areas, it's an eyesore. Even infrastructure like bridges are affected.
What?
Bridges in Manso Tontokrum, Manso Kenyago, Manso Edubia, all the Manso towns. Galamsey is so rife that people are so bold to mine closer to public infrastructure. When you go to Akrokari, same is happening. In fact, the headmaster of a particular school over there got us to know that they are blasting just some few meters from the school. And when classes is in session, you can hardly hear yourself. In fact, when we reported, the IGP sent men in there to arrest the people. I understand from my source that they are back. They claim they have a license. But that is where the Minerals Commission comes in. Why would you give a license in a settlement? So if it is not true, the Minerals Commission should come out in Akrokari to let us know whether they have granted a license to somebody who is mining in a settlement close to a senior high school. In other areas, Wasajapa, the IGP sent some men in there. I understand that there are still remnants of mining within the town. Udumase is still a very big underground mining beneath homes. Konongo is the same thing. Osino is just by the main road. Despite our numerous calls, people are still mining in Osino town. So mining in settlements is a big deal. And then we are the mining in forest reserves now is fairly controlled. Just some remnants of people mining in certain areas and all that. But we need to continue this. We need to keep it going. The IGP will need a lot of support. Let's give him that support. Can the Ghana Armed Forces also come in? The minister has set up a center to be manned by somebody. Can we get that rolling so that we have a concerted effort which is going on together with the tracking system? We will get somewhere. And then to also land, let me also say that let us streamline the licensing regime. Let us make it less complex so that if anybody wants to go into mining, they can easily go through the process, get it done, get the Minerals Commission, Water Resources Commission, EPA to monitor. Let's get the reclamation buffer set down so that in case they do not reclaim, right after that, we can use those monies to go ahead and reclaim.
Okay. Now, Erastus, let me find this out from you because I'm picking information that in certain areas, Anwiaso in the Adansi North District, for instance, you get even people who are mining on, some of persons who illegally take over mining concessions belonging to some mining companies. And then what you have is that some of the DCEs would come in and then advise the mining company to cede, those concessions to these illegal miners. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I'm aware of that. I have reported some of them. I have done quite a number of reports on that. Some of Anglo Gold Asante's concession have been taken over. So if you look at the latest arrest made by the police, they arrested some people who have taken over the concessions of Anglo Gold Asante. And let me get so the Western Central Regional Police Command executed that raid at Anglo Gold Asante's Iduapre mines, Mile 7, Takwa. And they arrested 45 illegal miners who had flooded the concession undertaking illegal mining. And so they've been able to arrest 45 of them. They are processing them for court as we speak. A number of companies have called, indicating similar, and saying that, yes, people are taking over. And so, listen, it is so surprising that you have police within those areas aiding some of these things. And that is why I have said it before, that the IGP has transferred many of these commanders, district commanders and personnel who have stayed for more than 10 years in one particular area. I think we should do that for all the Galamsey communities. If any police officer has stayed there for more than 5 years, they should be transferred. and fresh people brought on board. We should keep rotating them in Galamsey site, because many of them have become so compromised that when you report a Galamsey issue, it is like a normal money-making day for them,
Sad situation.
including the military as well. Some of them who have stayed in one particular place for a very long time and have been taking money from these illegal miners. It is something that is really hampering the fight against illegal mining.
Martin, let me bring you in finally on this. And you've had the situation of even companies, mining companies with concessions, having these concessions taken over by illegal miners. And sometimes you have, public officers urging them to just cede these concessions. It looks like this is more difficult than we ever thought, Martin.
Yes, absolutely. The economic aspects of it, that's to say, the unemployment situation, it hasn't helped much. So a lot of the persons involved, the hands, they are underlings, yes. And the underlings keep going because without going to the mining sites, they may not make a living. So you see why we will still have to then continue to advocate for the alternative livelihood program that Kufuor said sought to do, by which they didn't structure well.
Martin, the bit about livelihood, and I've heard people always make the point, but that you don't have food, that you need food doesn't mean you should engage in an illegality.
Absolutely, you are right. Absolutely. So it's not standing alone. So the livelihood question, that because they are not getting livelihood, okay, and then number two, because of impunity, because they know that, listen, not much prosecution will be done. And let's not forget, a lot of these underlings work for powerful party people. And even if they are not party, powerful people in society. So they know that, listen, even if you are arrested, the public will make noise no matter what. Maybe after 1 month, we will get bail for you, etc. Then the case will drag on. You see, have we ever asked ourselves, some of the cases Godfrey Dami started, have we checked? We know how many have been abandoned, how many are still going on years. So if these things, it's a criminal enterprise. So you have lawyers who advise, etc. You have all manner of people in society contributing. So the key thing is that these underlings will continue to go because they are told that, look, even if you are arrested, thanks to the saying, Pebu, every offense is bailable. So maximum by 1 month's time, we'll get bail. And then the case will drag for years. You see, so there is an incentive. So when the man is even on bail, in the meantime, he can even go back and continue. So one word is impunity. The justice system has not been as efficient as we would desire. But we as citizens who are enablers, very, very complex. We are great enablers, right? So that's the mix. So it's not one factor. It's a toxic mix of the factors that continue to promote illegal mining, Galamsey.
All right, Martin Kwebu, thank you very much. Erastus Asare Donkor, thank you also. We definitely would continue, talking about this. We're not stopping unless there isn't illegal mining.